Nintendo 64 was a significant milestone in gaming history as it introduced 3D graphics, controller rumble, and analog controls to the mainstream market. It faced fierce competition with the Sony PlayStation and ultimately lost that battle, but it became one of the most memorable consoles of all time due to its innovations and catalog of legendary first-party titles that changed the game and became the blueprint for developers to follow for years to come. In this video, I will be discussing the history, design, games, and legacy of the Nintendo 64. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Nintendo first announced the development of the N64 in 1993 under the codename Project Reality. The console was developed in collaboration with Silicon Graphics, a company known for its advanced 3D graphics technology. The 64 in its name represents the jump to a 64-bit processor, which was a huge selling point at the time. The N64 had a unique design compared to other consoles of its time. It featured a trident-shaped controller that had an analog stick, which allowed for more precise movement in 3D spaces. The console also had 4 controller ports, which made it more convenient for multiplayer games since you didn't need an adapter like the Super Nintendo with the multi-tap. Nintendo opted to use cartridges for the 64, and now looking back, we know it was a mistake. In this ever-evolving video game industry, CD-ROMs became the standard because of its low cost to manufacture and its ability to hold more data versus cartridges. This ended up affecting third-party support on the 64 because it was simply cheaper to make games for the PlayStation. It's easy to get at Nintendo today for this misstep, but I don't blame them for playing it safe and sticking with what they know. With products like the Sega CD, which ran into a lot of issues and pretty much flopped commercially, they probably didn't have much confidence in it at the time. Plus, there's real benefits with cartridges too. They load faster, are more durable, and eliminates the need for a memory card, making the console cheaper. The N64 was released in Japan on June 23, 1996, and in North America on September 29, 1996. It was later released in other regions such as Europe and Australia in 1997. Now, let's talk about the games.
Something's gone wrong in the happy-go-lucky world of Nintendo. Introducing Super Smash Bros., where all your favorite characters go toe-to-toe in one 4-player star-studded slam fest, only on Nintendo 64.
The N64 had a strong lineup of games, many of which are still considered classics today. Super Mario 64 was a launch title for the console, and it is often cited as one of the greatest video games of all time. It was a groundbreaking video game that revolutionized the platforming genre and set a new standard for 3D video games. It introduced a free-roaming 3D environment where players could move in any direction they wanted and explore vast environments in a way we had never seen before. It also established the concept of a hub world. Super Mario 64 pushed the limits of what was possible in video games at the time. Its influence is truly undeniable. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was another critically acclaimed game for the N64. It was the first 3D Zelda game, and it featured an immersive world and innovative gameplay mechanics, specifically the Z-targeting system. The Z-targeting system is a gameplay mechanic that allows the player to lock onto an enemy or points of interest in the game world. When the player presses the Z button on the N64 controller, the game's camera will center on the locked-on target, and the player's attacks and movements will be directed towards that target. The locked-on system allowed for more precise combat and made it easier for the player to keep track of enemies in 3D space. The Z-targeting system also introduced context-sensitive actions, meaning the player can interact with the locked-on target in different ways depending on the situation. For example, when targeting an enemy with a sword, the player can perform a variety of sword moves based on the direction they move the joystick, but when locked on to a friendly NPC, you can engage in a conversation. Sounds real basic today, right? Ocarina of Time was the first game to do this. The Z-targeting system revolutionized the action-adventure genre, making combat more engaging, strategic, while allowing for more complex puzzles and interactions in the game world. Other notable games for the N64 include GoldenEye 007, which walked so games like Halo could fly, Mario Kart 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Perfect Dark, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Wave Racer 64, Star Fox 64, and Super Smash Bros. Also, can't forget to mention all the amazing wrestling games that released on the N64, from WCW NWO Revenge to No Mercy. Local multiplayer games really bloomed on the N64. The Nintendo 64 wasn't a super commercial hit like the PlayStation 1. It sold over 32 million units worldwide compared to the PS1's 100 million units, but you can make the case that the N64 was just as impactful due to its incredible first-party games. Also, if you ask me, the 64 has aged a lot better than the PS1 as well. Did you grow up playing the N64? Tell me some of your favorite games and memories in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, once again, hit the like button and subscribe for more quality content.